Alright, I've got a completely randomized set of case studies examples from the SQL book in no particular order whatsoever, just a bunch of random ones. I'm going to start with Module 6, Case 1. Create a non-cat table with the structure shown in Figure 6 to 8. So we create a table called non-cat. It needs item ID char 4, primary key, description char 30, on-hand decimal 4, comma 0, category char 3, price decimal 6, comma 2. Close it off with a semicolon. That's it. You can see I executed this command. It's here. Here's non-cat. Non-cat's over here. Okay. Module 6, Case 2. Insert into the non-cat table the item ID, description, number of units on hand, category, and unit price from the item table for each item that is not in category cat. So, we come to Case 2. Module 6, Case 2. We're going to insert into non-cat. That's our table. Select item ID, description, on hand, category, and unit price. So if we come to this, you can see we've got item ID, description, on hand, category, and price from the item table where the category does not equal cat, and cat's in single quotes. That's it. Executed, 13 rows were affected. Module 6, Case 3. We're going to, in the non-cat table, change the description of item ID DT12 to dog toy gift bonanza. Dog toy gift bonanza. So Case 3, update non-cat. So update is the command for the non-cat table. Then we're going to say set, and description is our variable or our column, equal to dog toy gift bonanza, where item ID equals DT12. Module 6, Case 4. Where in the non-cat table, increase the price of each item in category BRD by 5%. Hint, multiply each price by 1.05. So you see update is our command again, non-cat the table. Set is our command to activate. Price is our column. And then we're going to do equal to price times 1.05 and do that only where the category equals BRD. Module 6, Case 5. Add the following item to the non-cat table. Item ID FF17, description premium fish food, number of units on hand 10, category FSH, and price 11.95. So insert into is our command. Values is the following command you use to let it know that you're putting a value in. Open parentheses and then single quotes on all the items that are characters. So FF17, premium fish food, 10 and 11.95 or numbers, so they do not have single quotes. And close that parentheses off, put your semicolon. Module 6, Case 6. Delete every item in the non-cat table for which the category is HOR. So we're going to use the delete from command, and then non-cat is our table. Delete from non-cat where category equals HOR. And there were 4 rows affected, meaning there were 4 items that had HOR as a category. Module 6, Case 7. In the non-cat table, change the category for item UF39 to null. Module 6, Case 7. So we're using the update command again, and non-cat is our table. Set is our activation. For the column category, we want it to equal null, so you just write out the word null. That's how you do it in SQL Server. And then we only want to do that where item ID equals UF39. And as you can see, one row is affected, and it made that row's column UF, made it null. Module 6, Case 8. Add a column named on-hand value to the non-cat table. The on-hand value is a 7-digit number with 2 decimal places that represent the product is in multiplication, of the number of units on hand and the price. So alter table is the command we're going to use. The table we are doing that to is non-cat. And then we're going to use the add command, on-hand value. As you can see, that's the new variable we're creating, on-hand value. And it is a decimal. It's 7 total digits. That's why we put a 7 here. And we want 2 decimal places, so that's why we have a 2 right there. Close that parentheses, put a semicolon. That command is completed. The next thing we have to do in part 8 module 6 case 8 is set. It says then set all values of on-hand value to on-hand times the price. So on-hand value, we want to set that to the on-hand times the price. So we're going to update the non-cat table. So update non-cat. And we're going to use set again to activate what on-hand value is what we're updating. And we're going to set it equal to on-hand times the price. And you can see that that worked. And I'll show you right now. You can see on-hand value is right here, and it's got the multiplication of 12 times 79.99, 24 times 20.99, etc., etc. All the way down there, you can see our null right there. Okay. Moving on to Module 7, Case 1, Part A. Module 7, Case 1, Part A. We want to create a view named Major Customer. It consists of the customer ID, first name, last name, balance, credit limit, and rep ID for every customer whose credit limit is 500 or less. And Part A says to write and execute the create view command to create the major customer view. So again, this is Module 7, Case 1, Part A. So create view is our command. We're calling it major customer. And then you put the word as after. Now, what do we need to add to the view? We need to have customer ID, first name, last name, balance, credit limit. Oop, messed that up. Balance, credit limit, and rep ID. From where? From the customer table. Where? So our condition is that the credit limit is 500 or less. So you use the less than and then the equal to sign, 500. Now, to see if that worked, you come up here to your database. Right here, you scroll down, you'll see a views down here. You can see I got it right here to the bottom left, okay? You have to make sure you refresh with the little refresh button after you run this query. It's giving me an error if you hover over because it's already been created. That's why it's giving me an error. We right click on it and we'll do select top 1000. And as you can see, this view has our customer ID, first name, last name, balance, credit limit, and rep ID that is 500 or less. Notice we have some 250s in there. Okay. That's Module 7, Case 1, Part A. Module 7, Case 1, Part B is write and execute the command to retrieve the customer ID, first name and last name of each customer in the major customer view with a balance that exceeds the credit limit. So that means that their balance is higher than their credit limit. So if we come to Module 7, Case 1B, you'll see we want the first name, last name, and customer ID, right? So let's close this. Actually, we'll leave this up. We want Case 1B here. Select customer ID from where? So instead of doing a table, you're doing the view. So you write major customer because that's a view we just created, where the balance is actually greater than the credit limit. So if we come back and look at this query here and these results, you'll see that there's only one actually. These are all the credit limits, and the only one where the balance is greater is Melanie Jackson. So if we were to right click on this, if we would execute this command, Module 7, Case 1B, you'll see that it only returned one value because that's the only one where the balance is greater than the credit limit. Module 7, Case 2, Part A, and Module 7, Case 2 says create a view named Item Invoice. It consists of the item ID, description, price, invoice number, invoice date, number ordered, and quoted price for all invoice lines currently on file. That's the key command there, because we're going to have to use that invoice line table. Okay, this one's a bit longer, so it's going to be a little harder to see here. But this is Module 7, Case 2, Part A. So it's create a view. We know we have the create view command. So create view, we're calling it item invoice, and then we have to put the word as afterwards. Open up some parentheses. Part A says write and execute the create view command to create the item invoice view. So we have that, and what we want to do is select all these values. Now notice I have item dot here and I have invoices dot here. The reason I have that is, if you notice, our from line here actually has a lot. It has 3 tables in it. It's got invoice line, invoices, and item. I have all 3 of those tables listed because we need all 3 of those tables to provide us with all of this information. So our condition is that we want to do it where invoice line dot invoice num equals invoices dot invoice num, because invoice line and invoices both have the invoice num variable in it, or column. And then we also have and here because we want to use invoice line dot item ID equal to item dot item ID. So putting that in there makes sure that everything's the same. Now, I'm pretty sure this is right. I feel like this is the right way to do it. It makes sense to me. And because the question says for all invoice lines currently on file, if we were to do a, here's my system view, by the way, bottom left, right click on that, select top 1000 rows. You can see there are 12 entries in this table. If I come to the invoice line table and do the same thing, you'll see that there are also 12 in this table. And if we go back and forth between these two, you'll be able to see that the item IDs are exactly the same for each item line. So pretty sure this one's right. But there's only 12, so that means every time there's an item line entry, there ended up being an item invoice view entry created. I hope that seemed like maybe it was a lot, but I hope that makes sense. So again, create view, item invoice. And again, you can always pause the video if you are having difficulty following along. So that brings us now to Module 8, Case 1. Module 8, Case 1. Module 8 case 1 says list the item ID and description for all items. The descriptions should appear in uppercase letters. So we have to use the upper command. As you can see here, we have select item ID and then upper description as description. So we want the item ID and description for all items. Where is that at? That's the item table. So we put from item, and we're using the upper command here, which takes every character, string character here, and makes it uppercase. And if you notice, we have our results down here. All of the description items are capitalized or uppercase. Module 8 case 3. We want to list the customer ID, first and last names, and balance for all customers. The balance should be rounded to the nearest dollar. Now this one, I think, I feel pretty confident in this because it's the round command. But what you'll notice with this round command is if the value is actually less than like 50 cents, it'll go down, which makes sense because we're going to the nearest dollar. You always think round up, but that's not always the case. So I just added the balance column back in here so you can see it rounded this one up, it rounded this one down, up, down, up, down, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so you don't actually need this part. This is just so you can check to see that it did it right, though. We'll execute that command again. So we're going to select customer ID, first name, last name, and balance from where? The customer table. And we put this round command in front, just like with the last one. We use the upper command. We're going to use the round command with parentheses. The round command wants the variable, a comma, and then how many decimal places that we're worried about, which we put as 0 because that's what we want to go up to the next dollar. So as balance, there we go. And I put as balance because I wanted to make sure that it said the word balance here. When I did it without as balance, it was showing no variable, which I don't understand why. So believe that's it. If you want to see, we put a 1 here and see what happens. And then we'll go ahead and check ourselves by putting balance here. And we'll run it now and see what happens. See, it rounds up to that first decimal. We don't want that. We want to go up to the next dollar. So that's why we put a 0 there. Notice how it was only rounding to the nearest, to the first decimal place. Again, we don't want that. We want just 0. So that's why that's the next dollar. All right. So this is the actual proper command here. There we go. Now, that was case 3. We're going to do our final random case. Module 8 case 4. Module 8 case 4 says Kimtay Pet Supplies is running a promotion that is valid for up to 20 days after an order is placed. List the invoice number, customer ID, customer first and last names, and the promotion date for each invoice. Promotion date is 20 days after the invoice was placed. Now we don't actually have a promotion date column, so we're going to have to create that. And we're going to create it by using the date add command. So we are going to select, we have to select from 2 tables this time. We need the customer table and the invoices table. So we're going to select invoice num, and then we're going to select customer.customer ID. Now you could select from invoices.customer ID, it doesn't matter. I picked customer, first name and last name, and then here's our date add command. Date add doesn't need an underscore in SQL Server. Now we're adding 20 days. According to the question, we need to add 20 days. So where I have day right here, you could put week, you could put month, you could put year. But because it's 20 days, it's not 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or whatever. We put day, then we put 20 because that's how many days. And then what are we actually going off of? We're going off of the invoice date command. Invoice date command is in the invoices table, which is another reason why we grabbed invoices. And then we're going to put as and then promotion date, because we want promotion date to be the title that's displayed when it comes out. We're creating that variable or column, if you will. And our where is, we want in the customer table where customer ID equals customer ID in invoices table. So we have that in parentheses with a semicolon. And as you can see here, we have promotion date that's right there. Now, how do we know it did it correctly? Well, we're going to test it. We'll put a comma here, and then we'll put just simply invoice date, right? And then if we run that query, you can see the invoice date is the 15th. It added 20 days to it, which made it December 5th. 16th is December 6th. 18th is December 8th. And 19th is December 9th. So you can see it added those 20 days to it. So it worked. And we're going to go ahead and delete this out of there. We don't need it. And rerun the query. So this is your final command right here. Select invoice num customer.custom ID. First name, last name, date add, parentheses, day, comma 20, comma invoice date, close parentheses, as promotion date from customer and invoices. So customer, comma invoices. And then we want to do the where command, customer.custid equals invoices.custid. So there you go. A completely random set in no particular order at all. No way they're in an order or anything. These are just happen to be 13. Well, 13 was actually, I guess, 15, 14. Bunch of case stuff. So there you go. Bye-bye.